um other thing going there. What do you call it? The
So good you know how to do this step there.
oh,
If you relied on me to do it, it would never happen.
funny, Mark. You are a funny guy today. All right, let's see. I think it's working, but I'm just gonna do one little test. Just to make sure. See, wrong one there. Good. Check. Yep, good, good. And we're recording, we're live on YouTube, and we are good to go.
Do we have anybody else that came in on Zoom?
Only Mary Kneisel.
Okay.
And once that loads up there, I will
13%.
do something on the fly.
Okay,
Like I
so
said, that's the third one, so.
I'm going to call this meeting of the Castine Selectboard to order. On February 10, 2025, and we have a forum. So let's go, and then we have an addition to the agenda, we have a contract from MMA that we should just. First is to approve warrants. We have a general fund warrant in the amount of $110,267.08. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
And this warrant covers 66 bills and 36 vendors, including snow plowing, extinguisher inspections, continuing education for staff, Maine municipal membership, firehouse door maintenance, and we added new ceiling fans out at Public Works to help bring the heat down from the ceiling so that hopefully we'll save some heat costs. Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And second, we have a water room in the amount of $3,287.55. So moved.
Second.
Okay, and is there any discussion? Okay, good. And that does cover PFAS testing that we just did. A PFAS testing.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was $1,400.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so, all right.
That's the one they have to do,
We
not
have to.
for
They
the
do on a
water
regular
system.
basis.
No, they have to do it under EPA, so they have to test it this time. And then come back and do it 6 months later
Right.
again.
Part of the already
Right.
predetermined.
Right,
process,
and
not
then
what
if
we
they
discussed.
don't find it, they're gonna test annually anyways. So that's one or the other to trigger that,
Okay.
just so you know,
Okay,
yep.
all in favor? Aye, okay. And finally, we have a contract from Marine Maritime Academy. The contractor will provide, which is us, which is the town, would provide a fire engine, qualified operator, and the possibility of additional hoses and nozzles for the academy's live fire training. The academy will pay the town $600 for the day to use the truck and the operator. And if we provide 2 engines for a full day, they would pay us $1,200 a day. And so I will move that we approve to allow Derek to sign.
So is this for their live fire instruction up in Bucksport? This semester?
I think I don't know, Randy already signed off on.
Is
told me
Randy-
to sign
is
it
he
yet.
okay
He already
with it?
reviewed it, yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I was gonna have it at the last meeting, but I hadn't heard from him yet, so now I have.
Yeah.
I just saw one other thing they're gonna do. So you guys can see Ted.
Have we signed contracts with them before for this?
Yeah, I think it's an annual thing that we do every year.
Okay. During this semester, we have all the freshmen.
Now I won't know when it's
Trained
done.
in their fire, their land-based and shipboard firefighting, and then the kind of capstone of their experience is to do a live fire burn experience, which we're doing up at the Bucksport facility. Often, and Lisa Burton, who's the instructor, needs support from area
Right.
towns for apparatus.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah,
Okay.
I
So.
think.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There's that back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that now, I can call this meeting, I can adjourn this meeting. correct?
Yes, can I just get quick signatures and
So,
then I'll log
I
out?
have a motion to adjourn the select board meeting.
It's a move.
Is there a second? Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Aye. And now I will open the work session at 4:11. And first on our agenda is 10. And thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, it's up on the big screen now.
Good.
Just gonna run this on my laptop until 5,
Got it.
then I'll
Thank you.
see if it's done.
Okay, huh?
I said I'm just gonna leave it on my laptop for until 5,
Okay.
and then I'll check back to see if it's loaded.
Okay, so. Derek and Ted,
Hi, Ted.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hi,
hi.
welcome back.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't be back up there in person. I was going to, but I couldn't get out of my office early enough to make the drive up. So I appreciate you being open to me conferencing in.
Sure, yeah, for sure. Okay, well, should we start with, do we have questions for Ted?
Well, I think, Ted, did you get like the performer thing or whatever you were gonna do? You mentioned something with that? That laid out?
Yeah, what I'd like to do, Derek, is go through several options of solar projects that you could do at that landfill site. How you could assign the credits that result from that project. I've gone through costing, I've developed pro formas. They're all very preliminary, what we've got to do in order to get a better understanding of what the costs would be to develop that site is get our head engineer who does our site assessments for ground mount projects to the site to do a full site assessment. So my assessment is preliminary. Theirs would be an official site assessment, but we've got numbers in there for what we think it's going to cost to run a pole line to the site. You've got three-phase power at the road, but you don't have it coming into the site, so we'd have to bring that three-phase power to the site. We'd have to include a transformer, so there are infrastructure upgrade costs that will be required. But we'll be able to get more definitive with our system cost, once we have that official site assessment, and then ultimately once we get an interconnection application response from CMP, so they can inform us, what if anything is needed in addition to what we have in our scope of supply to develop that site. So if you would like, I can start with, I've got about a 10 slide presentation to go through with you. So let me see if I can share that.
Make sure you can, you should be able to know. It's coming up slowly. Yep.
All right, you can see my slides there, or my slide.
Good, now it's gone.
Good, now it's dark.
Initially, it was good to go, and then you did something and it went away. Oh, and for a second it was there.
It was brighter the first time around.
Not up? All right.
All right, so you're back, all right. And then. All right, Hold on.
There it is.
All right, there it is.
Yay.
Okay. So I'll introduce myself again real quick. I'm Ted Rio. I am the Senior Director of Business Development for Select Energy up here. I'm responsible for the Maine and New Hampshire markets. It was, I think, beginning of January that I met with you folks the first time. We talked a little bit about that site and its potential for a solar development project. What we typically do from there is request a preliminary design by our engineering team just so that they can identify what the production ratio would be for each of the panels that we have at that site, how many panels we can fit on top of the flat part of the landfill, and really what we want to nail is what the annual generating capacity or capability of that site would be. And so I went ahead and did that for two different size projects. One, a 200 kilowatt AC project, and then the other one, a 600 kilowatt AC project. I'm going to send those two preliminary designs to Derek so he can have that in his file and share it with you. But it's really, I got the information I needed from that preliminary design, which is the production capability of the project. And so we've got that. Um, Real quick, I'll share with you again who Select is and what we do. We're the largest commercial and industrial focused solar developer in the Northeast. We've done more than 800 projects since 2009 when the company was founded. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of a company called Pattern Energy, which is a very large utility scale renewable energy developer. They focus on wind projects and solar projects as well as hydrogen projects. We've been part of that corporate umbrella since 2021. We have 110 employees about. We're headquartered in Hopkinton, Mass. And the reason why Derek asked us to come in is because we hold the solar contract for Power Options out of Massachusetts. They're a energy buying consortium. They're an energy brokerage firm that focuses on the public sector, municipal markets, and nonprofit markets. And they are affiliated with Maine Power Options, who is the town of Castine's energy broker. And Maine Power Options is offering the Power Options solar contract to their membership in Maine municipalities. And so that is where the relationship and the referral came from. We primarily do rooftop commercial industrial projects, ground mount projects, and solar canopies. There's plenty of ground mount projects in Maine. You've seen them. Not very many solar canopies. I don't know of one. But there are a number of rooftop deployments as well. What you've seen if you've traveled in different parts of the state with these ground mount solar projects are a result of the 2019 expansion of Maine's net energy billing program. So we are not a community solar developer, we're a CNI developer, but Maine's net energy program and kind of the requirements of the Maine market make it feasible for us to help municipalities who are interested in doing a community solar development project achieve that. So we also do energy storage systems, EV charging infrastructure, and we provide a complete suite of services from preliminary engineering and design all the way through long-term operations and maintenance. So we're a one-stop shop when it comes to these types of development projects. I thought it would be beneficial in this. I'll make this fast. So if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but I thought it would be beneficial just to revisit Maine's net energy billing programs. There are two programs under NEB in Maine. One is called the kilowatt hour credit program, and that is the program that we're proposing for your landfill site. The credits that are generated by the project are issued as kilowatt hour credits, so that's how they would impact any bill that the credits are applied to. We call those, refer to them as volumetric credits, functions like a rollback of your meter. Any meter rate classification can be part of a kilowatt hour credit project. There are no co-location requirements, meaning that a meter that is receiving credits from the project can quite frankly be located anywhere within the CMP utility district. Um, uh, for the kilowatt hour credit program. The program is best suited for small general service, SGS, and that's what most of your meters are, as well as residential meters. And there is a maximum project size of 1 megawatt AC under Maine's net energy billing program today. And that has been downsized from what was 5 megawatts when the program was first expanded back in 2019. The other program, which I'll mention very briefly, is the tariff rate program. The reason why we're not proposing the tariff rate program here for this project is because there is a co-location requirement, meaning that the meter that is receiving the monetary credits under the net energy billing tariff rate program must be co-located with the PV system. So you have a medium general service meter at your wastewater treatment plant. If that uh, parcel had enough vacant space on it for a decent sized solar array, ground mount, then we would utilize the tariff rate program for that project because it's co-located with the wastewater treatment plant meter. I've been to visit that site, and there's no room for a solar array on the grounds or the rooftop. The roofop's quite small. So what we're going to propose here is the net energy billing kilowatt hour credit program. I did an assessment. So Derek requested and had sent to me all of the town's CMP meters. And so across your small general service meters, so that makes up about 15 of your 16 meters. The total load or annual electricity usage across those 15 SGS meters is about 191,000 kilowatt hours. The value of each kilowatt hour attached to an SGS meter, so you know what the electricity costs the town of Castine for an SGS meter is about 20.468 cents. About half of that is your delivery rate. So for 2025, the delivery rate for an SGS meter in the CMP utility district is 9.855 cents. And then the other charge for your SGS meters is the supply rate. And I've used the standard offer supply rate of 10 cents, 10.613 cents. Those two rates combine for that number that you see there, 20.468 cents. The only other charge you will see on your SGS CMP bills is a monthly service charge, which is around $47 a month per meter. Your one MGS meter is the wastewater treatment plant's meter, and the annual electricity usage through that meter is about 159,000 kilowatt hours. So that's what you're using annually through that meter. With medium general service meters, I've used the same supply rate of 10.613 cents. Actually, I think you're on a Constellation Energy contract through Maine Power Options, which your contract right now might be a little bit higher than 10.613 cents, but I use that standard offer supply rate as our basis. With medium general service or commercial meters, there is a very small delivery charge levied in kilowatt hours, 1.142 cents. The remainder delivery charges are levied in kilowatt demand charges, which typically represent the highest part of your delivery charges. And then there's also a monthly service rate. And those monthly service rates have gone up quite a bit. Today, I think they're about $311 for an MGS meter. So the kilowatt hour value of 1 kilowatt hour of usage through an MGS meter is 11.75 cents because of so many of those demand charges are levied in kilowatts. Does that make sense to everyone? Anyone have any questions about that load profile and those kilowatt hour charges?
Ted, can you just explain to me, is this what we would expect to see with one of your solar proposals, or is this what we're currently paying?
This is what we pay now.
This is what, yeah, this
Okay.
is what you're paying in those charges that are levied in kilowatt hours. So if we were to generate a kilowatt hour of solar generation and it was to be assigned to an SGS meter, the value of that 1 kilowatt hour of generation would be 20.468 cents. If we were to generate 1 kilowatt hour of solar generation and it was assigned to an MGS meter, the value of that kilowatt hour would be 11.755 cents. So you get much better value when you assign a kilowatt hour of generation to an SGS meter versus an MGS meter. And that's based on how the utility charges for delivery for commercial meters. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I first wanted to do was let you know what the right system size would be to offset your meters that get the best per kilowatt hour value per kilowatt hour of generation. So your SGS meters. If we were to do a 100 kilowatt AC, that's alternating current, which would be equivalent to a 150.4 kilowatt DC direct current system, we would get about 178,000, just under 179,000 kilowatt hours of generation in year one. If those credits were assigned to SGS meters, the credit value would be the numbers that we just looked at on the previous slide, 20.468 cents. The preliminary cost of a system of this size, I'll preface this by saying, we've got to run three-phase power from the road to the site. We've got to install a transformer. We'll have a multiple pole line. So there's going to be quite a bit of cost incorporated just to get power to the site. So we'd be looking at a preliminary cost of this size project, 100 kilowatts AC, of $226,000 approximately. That would come out to a per watt rate, that's per watt DC, to $4.16.
Sorry, it says 600 on this slide,
626.
626.
Did I say something different?
You said 226.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. $626,000. My apologies. The project would be eligible for a direct pay grant. So under the Inflation Reduction Act, and I know that there's a lot of uh, unknowns right now about how the Trump administration is going to be impacting some of these programs. We do believe that the direct pay investment tax credit is going to remain as it is. But under the Inflation Reduction Act, there is an investment tax credit for renewable energy projects of 30%. So if you have tax liability at the end of the year, you want to offset some of that tax liability, you install a PV system, 30% of the cost of that project you can claim as an investment tax credit against your taxes. So obviously, as a municipality, you don't pay taxes. That investment tax credit is for for-profit organizations, private businesses, corporations. But last spring, the Biden administration incorporated a direct pay grant option to basically give nonprofit entities that do not pay federal income tax, an opportunity to benefit from this program. And that that program is called direct pay. So you would be eligible for a direct pay grant worth 30% of the system cost, and that comes out to $187,806. So you would pay for the system, you'd get the system installed, you'd get it commissioned, it would start operating, and then you would submit an application for that direct pay grant. So we believe that it's going to remain in effect, and it's something that we should definitely factor into costing for these projects. Given the system cost, the direct pay grant, the simple payback for this project would be 11 and a half years. It would only offset your SGS meters, so it would have no impact on your MGS meter. The internal rate of return would be 6%. That is not a very good IRR. Typically, for municipalities, you want to get above 10% IRR from our experience. So, but this is where I'd say we would start. This would be the smallest system that we would give you that we would recommend being your option. The 20-year cumulative net cash flow for this project would be 364,000 and change, so a little over $364,000. This assumes a capital purchase, so I have not assumed any loan, whether it's through the Maine Municipal Bond Bank or Coastal Enterprises. This assumes just a capital purchase, as do the other options I'm going to share with you. So this option here would be, the smallest one.
If I could just stop you
Yeah.
there. If we do have to go to Maine Municipal Bank to borrow the money, can you readjust your projections based on the interest that we're paying? I think the interest will be like 3.5%, 4%. I'm not sure where the rates are right now.
Yes, I can do that. We can include that financing into our pro forma and give you a sense of what that would look like. So absolutely. So I'm going to move on to.
Just one other question. So
Sure.
because it's 11.5 years as a simple payback, because we're only using this for the MGS meter and not the other meters.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah, you're only using it for the SGS meters, correct?
Because, listen, in my former business, we put in 2 very large solar projects. And I think we bought the projects, and I think our payback was like 6.5 years or 6 3/4, something like that. I mean, these were very large systems.
Yeah, yeah. So size is very important. Economies of scale are very important when it comes to solar projects.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you how the cost per watt, the simple payback, and the IRR improve as you move towards a larger project.
Okay, because this isn't great.
I'm sorry?
This system is not great. The payback is quite slow.
Yes, yeah. This is not a project that we would recommend, but I wanted to start with a small one. So if we move to a system twice the size of that 100 kilowatt project, so a 200 kilowatt AC project, the year one generation would be about twice the size, so 356,000 kilowatt hours plus. If we included all of your meters, so if we assign credits to your 15 SGS meters as well as your 1 MGS meter, the blended credit value, so taking 56% of the generated kilowatt hours at a value of 20.468 cents, that would be for your SGS meters, and 44% of the generation going to your MGS meter at 11.755 cents per kilowatt hour, we would get a blended average of 16.634 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the value that you would see. The preliminary cost of that project would be just under $1 million, so $994,941, about $3.32 a watt. You would be eligible for a direct pay grant of $298,482. The simple payback has improved a little bit, so we're at 11.1 years instead of the slide 11.5 years, and internal rate of return of 6.4% instead of 6%. So a little bit better, but not a lot better. The 20-year cumulative net cash flow. So in this example, it would be what you would save over the course of that 20 years after you pay the system off would be about $612,790. So that's what you'd be looking at for this size system. If you took the same size system and instead of incorporating your MGS meter into it, because you're only getting a credit value of 11.755 cents. If you did that same system, so this is option B, and pulled out the MGS meter and instead offered credits to residential meters in town, and this is just an example to show you how the things change. You get the same generation as the system before. The blended credit value would be 19.704 cents versus the previous system of 16.63 cents. So that would be 56% of the generation being assigned to your SGS meters, and then the remaining 44% assigned to residential meters at a value of 18.733 cents. So that's what the value of each kilowatt hour to the town would be if those kilowatt hours are assigned to Resi A meters. And that represents a 20% discount off of the standard offer rate. So if you were to offer a 20% discount rate to a resident or residents of the town of Castine, the value per kilowatt hour to the town would be 18.733 cents. At an average kilowatt hour per year usage of 6,000 kilowatt hours, you could incorporate about 28 homes into this project, generate credits for them, and offer them a 20% discount to participate in the project. Preliminary costs would be the same as the previous size. It's previous slide. It's the same size system. You get the same direct pay grant, but your payback would be reduced to 9.5 years from 11.1 years if we sent those credits to your MGS meter. So improved payback of 9.4 years, and then an IRR that's better, 8.6%. It's approaching that 10% number. The 20-year cumulative net cash flow for this project would be about $877,000. Does that make sense? Any questions there about that project? So it would not involve your MGS meter. Instead, the excess generation would go to residential meters. The largest system that we took a look at was a 600 kilowatt AC system that would generate over 1 million kilowatt hours of electricity annually, so 1,067,000 and change. Again, we'd be using the same blended credit value of 19.045 cents. So 18% of the system generation would be applied to your SGS meters. And then the remaining 82% would be applied to Resi A meters. At a 20% discount rate offered to those residential meters, the value per kilowatt hour to the town would be 18.733 cents. At 6,000 kilowatt hours a year, you could provide credits to about 146 homes. The preliminary cost of a system of this size would be $2,172,000 thereabout. The price per watt would be $2.42. That's per watt DC. The direct pay grant value would be $651,000. The simple payback for this project would be about 7 years. And the IRR would be well over 10%, 12.8%. So you'd be looking at a system that would pay back better. The 20-year cumulative net cash flow, so that would, after the system is paid off, would be about 3.1, just under $3.2 million. And so this project assumes that you've got the involvement of residential homes. They can be in Castine, but they don't have to be.
So I have a question about the residents' participation. So
Yep.
let's just say we want to go forward with this, and we go out to the town and we say, you know, we have the ability to offer discounts to 140 some odd homes.
Yeah.
How do they participate? Do they have to put some money up front? I mean, the homes are gonna get this 20% discount on their electric bill. And with the amount that electricity is going up, and these can be significant numbers. If someone's paying $250 a month, now their bill is $200 a month. What, do they just get the benefit? Is there any cost to participate?
There would be no cost to participate. So the way these community solar projects are set up, these projects have been built and developed by solar developers, community solar developers working with investment funds primarily. And so they do not offer, there's no charge to participate. The developer owned projects, the standard market discount rate for these projects has been 15%. I'm sure you've received flyers in the mail offering your participation in one of these projects for a 15% discount rate. Typically, the developers will ask for 180-day notice to cancel, so there's no long-term contract associated with it. Usually it's a 6-month contract or a 6-month notice to cancel. So the idea here would be you would offer participation opportunities to residents of Castine. There would be no cost to participate, and they would receive kilowatt hours of kilowatt hour solar credits reflected on their CMP bill. They would be valued at about 23 cents. That's today's combined standard offer rate with delivery, but they'd be paying 18.73 cents for those kilowatt hours valued at 23 plus cents.
It's a total win for residents. I mean, then if I guess what would be interesting, and we'd have to do the math, that if we ended up financing this through the main municipal bank, and let's just say people's taxes went up slightly to cover the cost of the project, I'd be curious to see the delta between what they're saving on electricity and what their tax increase would be. Let's just say everybody's taxes went up $30 a year, and yet we're saving $50. I'm making up a number, but like they're saving $50 a month on electricity, but it's being that savings is being balanced with a tax increase due to the bond. You know what I mean?
But that's my question. Do
Yep.
we actually have a tax increase? Because don't we get the savings or the credits that should be offsetting, I would think,
But you gotta pay-
out of the bonds
but if
with
you-
the interest?
Yeah, but we have to pay for it up front in this model.
I know, but we're saving on whatever our use of electricity is, so
Right.
ideally the payment, I would think for the bond would come out of
that.
the savings of our electric bills. That's what I'm guessing. Am I
No, but
wrong, Ted? or-
if we're here with a 7-year payback, it would seem to me that it would make a lot of sense to do a bond to pay for it, because you'd be doing a longer bond than the 7 years. And I mean, we'd have to do the math, but it seems to me, buying up front would make a lot of sense.
Well, a $2 million bond,
Well, it's $2 million minus
minus the 650.
which you'll probably get back in 2 years, so you'll have to probably, because the grants you don't get back right away.
Right,
Yeah.
but see then, I don't know.
That was like $1.5 million.
It's not a big number.
But but I'm saying, so that $1.5 million though, in the meantime, we're not spending that money out to CMP.
Right.
Every month.
We
If
would
that's
now
the
have that
payment.
money to pay towards that
The bond.
bond. Hopefully it would be a wash. I
If
don't
that's
know.
what we're making our payment, and if that's a wash,
It makes it.
then we don't have to raise taxes on anybody.
Right, that's what I'm
And
thinking.
after 7 years, we get $150,000 a year that we make off of the project, is the way I'm understanding it. Ted, are we in the ballpark?
For the net, for the 13 years later.
You're saying that after you pay it off,
After we pay it
after
off.
after the 7 years,
The
the
next-
next 20 years, we're saving $3 million in electric bills.
No, we're getting.
Right, we're
$150,000
getting,
a year.
like, right, we're gonna have that extra
Yeah.
money,
We're saving, plus
Yeah.
we're getting.
right?
I can show you a simple cash flow model for this project here.
Yeah, that'd
But
be great.
you know what I would tell you is if a household uses 6,000 kilowatt hours a year annually, and that's if you Google, you know, average electricity consumption for main households, that's what you come to. You know, I use at my house about 11,000 kilowatt hours of electricity a year. But if you use 6,000 based on current rates and based on a 20% discount rate, um, uh, Cast, uh, Castine households would save about $280 a year if they use the state average of 6,000 kilowatt hours a year in
That's a
electricity.
big number. So what does that cost the average person per month? 600 kilowatt hours. What is the average bill?
6,000.
$6,000
Per
Per
year,
year. That's what
times
those numbers-
18
Of electricity.
or 20 cents, so,
6,000 kilowatt hours.
Right, 6,000 kilowatt. And I'm asking,
right.
what I'm asking is, what does that cost the average person per year for that?
Well,
All right, so if they if someone uses 6,000 kilowatt hours of electricity annually per month, that would be based on current rates about $117 in electricity costs. That's supply and delivery, and then you would add about $27 to that, which is the monthly service fee.
Right.
So you know these credits would not impact the monthly service fee, but it would impact the delivery and supply rates.
I have a question. On these figures, they're including the transmission distribution charges. So when you have a solar project, those go away. They said that power still needs to go over CMP's lines, right? So they're not getting that money anymore?
That's correct, Derek.
Well, that's kind of screwing them over, kind of, isn't it? Is that why they get
Uh,
the service charge automatically up front of like 45 or whatever dollars a meter?
Yep. So the service charge for each of your meters that CMP continues to collect that.
Okay, but they don't get to charge the T&D to the individuals or our accounts anymore, like they did before. So it's all together.
The delivery charges for the delivery charges for SGS and residential meters would be offset by your kilowatt hour credits, along with your supply rate.
So if my understanding is correct, you're recommending like a 600 kilowatt system for us at this point. It's the only, this is the only one that makes sense so far, financial sense.
Well, and also could go along with that, those 146 homes don't necessarily have to be Castine homes, right? They could be Orland or Penobscot homes or any place.
That's right. They can be anywhere within the CMP utility district. I have not included any costs in these pro formas to reflect, marketing. So if you're going to, there's going to have to be some effort to identify and enter into agreement with these 146 homes or however many you need. And so I haven't included those costs in the pro forma. And then there's going to be some billing maintenance and some billing management, which is not included either. So what I wanted to do was show you what you could do with that site, what you could do with the PV system on that site if you wanted to include your residents as potential beneficiaries.
It would seem to me that there's no downside for residents to participate. I mean, we've got several, what was there, 700 residents? How many households are there in Castine?
No,
Seven
I would say
hundred,
there was 500, but I don't
no,
know.
I think
It's more like six.
yeah, I mean.
650.
it would
Oh,
seem-
you're right.
it
I
would-
think
it
you're
would
right.
seem
I
to
was trying to
me
think.
That since there's there's only an upside, there's no downside, it would seem to me that we're gonna have a different problem. It's gonna be how do we,
So, yeah,
no, go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm just, so, okay, we took out a bond at 3%,
Right,
$2 million, it would be $45,000
a year.
a year. So to pay off just the 2 million, we would need to pay, like, we're gonna pay that all off. We're not gonna pay that all off in the first 7 years, is that, or is that?
That's what that says, is,
Because
yeah, the
that's
simple
Um,
payment.
so no, yeah, this would be based on a capital purchase, capital acquisition. So if you weren't paying for your debt, if you weren't, then the savings as well as the revenue that you would generate for the project would have this project paid off in 7 years, assuming a capital purchase.
But if we're gonna have to float a bond to do it, we have to recalculate the numbers.
Like
Correct.
4% more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Amy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just have a question about the equipment maintenance. When you talk about the 20-year cumulative net cash flow, you know, for each of the options you've presented to us, what's the lifespan of the solar array that you would be proposing regardless of the size? Like, does the town need to reinvest in that equipment after a certain number of years for maintenance or repair or damage?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the inverters, they have a life of about 11 or 12 years, so they would have to be replaced during the 20-year life of the project. The solar panels are going to continue producing well beyond 30 years. But anytime we put together the pro formas for these projects, we're looking at a 20-year project life cycle. So the only equipment that's going to require replacement will be the inverters at about 11 or 12 years. The panels, you're going to get good generation from them for 30 plus years. I'll go ahead and show you
Hey, wait, I
the,
got one question before you go on. How
Yeah.
come we're only using 18% of our SGS for our town buildings? Why would we want to not use more of that?
yeah. So your total load across your 15 SGS meters, Derek, is about
Yeah.
191,000 kilowatt hours. And
Yeah.
so 18% of this number, 1,067,000, is 191,000.
Okay,
But why aren't we using,
Right.
why aren't we doing all of ours?
right. Why aren't we using 100 and then less households? I would think that means we don't have to sell as much.
Okay, I get, no,
Users.
we are doing all of it, but that's 18.
Oh, it's 18% of the million. Okay, all right, yes, all right, that makes more sense, yeah. I was
Yeah.
not getting there either,
Alright.
so.
Okay, and
And then I just want to make sure in this scenario, your MGS meter is not included. I mean, we could
Right.
definitely incorporate it into it, but just for the sake of creating something to speak against, it's 18% of the generation is going to go to your SGS meters. The remaining 82 would go to residential meters. None would go to your MGS meter.
And why wouldn't we use the MGS? What would that mess up?
Because the kilowatt hour value,
Is less, right, it's half of that.
yeah. So it's
Because that's above and beyond the
11.75 cents versus 20.468 cents. So
Right.
that's why, Derek. But you know, I could definitely do this and include the MGS meter into that as well. And you're right, you would consume 165,000 kilowatt hours for that MGS meter. The value per kilowatt hour would be less, but you know, over time, you know, you'd pay for that system, and then you'd be getting the kilowatt hours, the supply free for your wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, I got one other question. You were at that lunch and learn, right? Because you did the last presentation. When CEI was talking about their money that they're about to get, that they can lend out, aren't they talking about like 1% like money available for these things to build the community power ones?
Yep. So
Oh, you got it in here? Okay, good.
yeah, so we don't know quite yet. So I've used a 3.5% interest rate range for either the Maine Municipal Bond Bank or Coastal Enterprises. We're gonna know more definitively, I hope, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, exactly how low CEI is going to be able to get with that financing that they're gaining access to through the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator. But I'd say, 3.5% should be at the high end of what might be available to you for financing.
And how about these billing companies or whatever, do they like take just 10% off the top, or how do they normally get paid? Like out of your scenario? Like, I know it's
Um,
not built in there, but because I don't wanna be in charge of collecting and shutting off power to people's houses. So,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
So it's usually a per kilowatt hour rate. So
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Ted, I have a question, and I know that, in your position, your role is to encourage us to purchase an array like this, but to play the devil's advocate, what if the town of Castine just decided to buy solar credits from another existing array? Is the major thing that we're giving up by not building an array of our own is the anticipated cash flow to the town after the 20-year time limit, or, time period has elapsed?
Um, s- all of the components are kind of in place for you to do a development project like this. And instead of a developer like our company, like Select, reaping the financial benefits of the project, I mean, the town and its citizens do have the ability to reap those benefits. So you have the site, you have three-phase power running relatively close by. The NEB program, as it exists in Maine today, facilitates this kind of project. You've got access to financing through either the Maine Municipal Bond Bank or CEI. So I think it's definitely something that every municipality should consider if they've got a site that could be utilized. If you decided instead just to participate in the net energy billing program by subscribing to another developer's project, then you would get some benefits from that. But long term, those benefits would not be as great. But I mean, this is there's stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes to make this work. The biggest part of that is identifying and finding the subscribers, entering into an agreement with them, and then making sure you have the ability to replace a subscriber when one leaves, whether they move or whatever. So on the back end, there's going to be a little bit of work to do, but the upside is you've got a project that's going to generate a lot of revenue for the town over time. You're going to offset your municipal electricity costs, and you're going to be driving some benefit to the townspeople. So this is the same concept as the community solar projects that you drive by, but it would be municipal owned, accessing instead of investment capital, you'd be accessing either bond financing or financing available through the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator program, and the system is set up for you to do this. There aren't, as far as I know, there aren't municipalities doing this to a wide scale yet in Maine, but everything is in place for it to happen. I think it's just a matter of a municipality taking that step and doing it.
But
Right.
Ted, I have one more question, please.
Okay. Yep.
So another option that we had discussed was leasing the land to a solar company. They would pay us a leasing fee, and then the town could also sign up for the use of that solar and save the 20%. Is that a possibility through you?
This for us to lease this site from you and develop a project on it, I don't believe that we could offer you an interesting enough annual lease payment to make you want to give up the future development of that site. Um, a challenge now, our investors are have different, of course, different requirements. We're a for-profit company. If you had three-phase power running all the way into that site with an existing transformer that we could plug into, then potentially that would make it a more feasible development project for us. The To be honest with you, I just have more um, uh, potential sites that we can lease in front of this one that are going to be a little bit less costly to develop and that we can lease for less. And so I'm not saying that there's not a developer out there who would lease your site. I don't think that they would be able to offer a real hefty lease payment, maybe in the $10,000 to $15,000 range per year. But right now, I would say that we would not have the appetite to lease this site from you today.
Okay, good. I just wanted to know that. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Do we have, we need to
We need
move
to
on
it.
to our.
We
next-
do right off.
Thank you so much. We have to get on to our next item.
But thank
Okay,
you.
real quick, what would you like me to produce for you in terms of a detailed pro forma? Do you want me to continue building off of this larger system, 600 kW, generates 1,000,000+ kilowatt hours, could potentially involve as many as 146 homes? You want me to do a pro forma with?
I would like you to do that. I can only speak for myself. We have to talk together, but I think it would be very interesting to do that and calculate any finance charges into it, just so at least we had a real cash flow of what this thing will
Well,
cost.
that and like a billing company would be good, those charges.
Yeah, we just,
And,
yeah,
whatever the replacement cost is for that inverter in
Yeah,
11
yeah.
years, even
yeah,
though.
so, exactly. If we could get a real cash flow, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So this is what I'm going to work on building out further. I'll send that to Derek so he can review it with you, and I'm happy to go back at a meeting in 3 to 4 weeks to review it with you in detail. So that's
And
what I'll
just
work on.
one last, if we were to go ahead and we said yes to the project, what kind of timeline are we talking about? Like, once we got the yes?
So what we would want to do is enter into a letter of intent with you guys. There's no cost associated with that. The program that we have with power options typically will ask for a $5,000 reserve to cover the costs of submitting the interconnection application. That's waived for power options members. After the letter of intent, we'd get an official site assessment, generate a site plan, then we'd submit our interconnection application. That is the big unknown. All of that is going to take probably 4 to 6 weeks. But then once we submit our interconnection application, if it remains a level 2 interconnection application, we might be able to get a positive an affirmed application from CMP within 3 months. If they assess the project and determine it needs to be a level 4 interconnection application, it could be a 6 to 9 month process. If you're talking about from today, this would be a project that would be built probably the second half of 2026 if all went well.
Okay, so it's a 2-year window.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so
Thank you
much.
very
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. I know what to work on. I'll have something for you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the second half, well, let's maybe and Jack, if you'd like to come to the table, you're good as well.
I'm gonna move across
And,
back to my
and
spot.
Gordon, would you like to come to the table too?
We can give, Gordon, we can give your old chair back if you want.
Yeah, it will be all really nostalgic.
Yeah, Gordon, there's nobody here to yell at you today.
Thank you.
Right here? Sure. Perfect.
Yeah.
Need to sign in.
Sure, why not? Just,
Sue uses it for the minutes.
yeah, we might as well be. They're really on top of it.
I got you. You can keep going, I'm just gonna join with this. And then switch it over.
So we wanted to start a conversation about what kind of fire station are we looking?
We're looking for 4 bays. We're looking for a kitchen area, a meeting room, an office space. We're also looking for rooms for people to be able to live there, you know, on either students or full-time people, whatever we have to go through. I just want to make it very clear to you three. The future of Castine is going to be full-time people. And part-time.
We're very, very.
I just have to keep
We know that.
repeating it.
So when you're looking at office space, are you looking at one large office space? Are you looking at?
You know, it's a dispatch center. We did this, which is in the architectural piece, if you have that. There is there in all the spaces. We did this 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. Things have changed. Things are a little bit different. We're not looking for a Taj Mahal. We're not looking for a simple, easy, but yet nice. You know, we have to look at the effects of cancer within, you know, the fire service. We have to look at it, well,
So you need you need a space where you can clean turnout gear.
Yes.
We need a space with showers.
yes. Yeah, I mean, you have to have air exchange, you have to have a system to refill our air tanks. We go to Bucksport or we go to Penobscot, and we have to do that, we need our own.
I mean, Randy, I would assume that when you build a new fire station. And we go to people who have done this before, they have a checklist of all the things that we need.
Oh, they certainly do.
And my feeling is you do this once and you do it right, you know? And, you know, like, I just don't believe in doing things halfway. And, you know, in my short time here, I mean, fire department is really important. I mean, more important than most towns, because we don't have police.
Thank you, yeah, it is.
Can I?
Yeah.
I think two key pieces that I'd like to convey, and you probably already know this, but we're gonna state them just
Absolutely.
for the record. We've been working in the existing facility for about 60 years. We're probably about 30 years behind in where we should be with what we have at hand. All of us, I think I speak for Chief, and wanted to say Tom wasn't able to be here, although he planned to be. He got called off because of a
Lifeline.
work requirement.
Yeah.
Although he didn't intend to be here. We need to build something that has the capacity to take us into the next 50 years. And I think some of that is gonna have to kind of keep coming up where, when we start looking at the spaces and the configuration, and the design of the station, I think we need to keep in mind that we have to build this in somewhat of a modular manner, that in some cases, we may have to add to it in the future. And if we build that into it at the front end, it will be easier to do that.
Yay.
Yeah.
You just like sang my tune.
No, absolutely.
But are you saying, but the 4 bays would be necessary now?
Yeah,
We have 6 pieces of apparatus right now.
right. So we need the.
Would you be able to fit those 6 pieces of apparatus in a 4-bay building?
If they're double deep, yes.
That's sort of the next question. Would you want each of the 4 bays to be drive-through?
Correct.
As opposed to 2 being drive-through and 2 not being drive-through?
So the concept would be 4 double deep bays that would be drive-through. I mean, pretty much the NFPA has gone to drive-through for everything that they
No,
have.
and I've been visiting this fire station. And it seems like the all of the best fire stations are drive-through.
If you want to talk about things like accidents backing up and people getting hurt or damaging of equipment because you have inexperienced people driving big trucks, come on down and let me show you all the dings and hooks and bangs that we've got. You know, we have mere inches of clearance on the doors.
There's no question. I guess what I keep going back to is, okay, we're gonna come up with a design. That design's gonna have a certain cost.
Yep.
Okay. And it's our job, I think, to say that this is a good value for Castine, whatever. When we come up with this number, this is providing real value to the health and safety of this town. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna go to the voters, and whatever the number is, we want this vote, we want this to be 90% yes, 10, but we want this to be like a significant, we don't want this to be 51-49, you know what I mean?
I understand, neither do I.
Yeah, so, you know, my thought is, you know, how do we, when we come up with this number, okay, we really have to say that this has been vetted, it's been researched, it's a good value, it's providing tremendous safety to the town. And we have to do that in a way that the residents in the town say, yes, wow, this is really a great thing. There's been, listen, you were here during the controversy. I wasn't here. I mean, it's been controversial for a long time. We don't want this to be controversial.
Sure.
We want this to be that the town needs a new fire station and we're behind it. We want to do it the right way.
Actually, the
Absolutely.
reality is if we're going to try for any kind of congressional directed spending.
Yeah.
it should be controversial, right?
No, not only that, and they're gonna have a lot of other additional requirements that come into play for things like, you know,
For that.
sustainability and, you know, all kinds of things that may be built into funding that we may get from the federal government like that. There'll be requirements that may add to the cost of the
Yeah.
project in order to meet
Yeah.
the requirements to get there.
Listen, we would love to get congressional directed spending. Who knows with the changes that are going on. I mean, who knows if this is just gonna dry up? I mean, it may not, but you know, it seems to me that the money from the government's gonna be harder, not easier.
So when you spoke, I'm sorry, but when you spoke about, sort of modular, sort of adding things, because I love the idea, we're gonna have this, and then eventually we'll add this, and someday we might need this, and we can put that over here.
Right,
Could the dorm space initially be one of those things we're going to add later?
I think potentially,
But I don't know, you may not, but I'm curious because if we could save, and I don't know how much it would be, because we don't have all PM or anything yet, so, but if that could save us $1.5 million in right now, but then later we can say, okay, now we are ready, we need the dorm space, we're ready to go. I'm just throwing stuff out, I don't know.
I get it, I understand, we all wanna cost save, I gotta pay the tax house, we
Yeah,
all
yeah,
gotta do it.
We all gotta pay the tax bill, so.
And here's the thing. We're talking 27 that you may have to hire full-time people,
27?
27, that's soon.
Yeah.
We're not standing here and saying this because we want it.
And Bert, my feeling is that the cost, when you look at the whole project, when you talk about having, let's just hypothetically, 4 dorm rooms and a kitchen.
That's.
This is tiny, a tiny cost of the project.
And you wait, and it triples in cost.
Yeah, no, I know, believe me.
And I don't wanna come across and be that, but we've got to plan for the future, for the town to cover it. You know, we can go through the manpower, I'm not gonna go through that. Look at my age, look at his age. And you know, and he's coming up to it, Tom's coming up to it, we're all older, okay? We don't have younger people in our community.
And Randy, just to be clear, I mean, if we talk about hiring a fire chief, a full-time paid fire chief, we're looking at 125, 100, I mean, what are we talking about here in terms of real cost with social security?
115, it was.
115, plus you gotta look at 20% on top of it. with social security and health insurance.
And you gotta have a firefighter's EMT, they have to be combined. It's gotta be EMTs and firefighters. That's not, with insurance and everything, that's 105. It's not, it's not cheap. The town has been very lucky for the last long time. And we just, the reality is, we're aging out.
So Randy, when we had that meeting upstairs.
Yeah.
And I asked the question to the Port City.
Yeah, Port City.
And I said, what is the square foot cost of an average fire station? I think, was it $455? I forget what the number was.
Back then, 5 years ago, it was October 2020. I think it was 2 something. Now it's up to 5 something. It's just, and we will know more when we actually get the money, get the preliminary engineering and that all done, one shot deal, and get that done. We're running blind.
No, but I'm saying,
We are
but if
running
we're
blind.
looking, if we're in the $500 a foot price.
400 something, yeah.
Let's just call it 5 for a round number
Yeah,
right
sure.
now. If you're looking at 10,000 square feet, I'm just using again round numbers, 500. We're already at 5 million,
Right.
$5 million, okay? And we don't know if that's big enough or too big or, but we just know that the per square foot cost of
Yes,
the fire station is only going up.
yep,
And the sooner we get the owner's project manager and the sooner we start getting prices in, the sooner we're gonna save money because.
In the long run, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you're absolutely right, Ian. Yeah, I mean,
if I can back up a little bit.
yeah,
In response to this 2027 and all of that, but and the fact that we are all getting older as we are, do we have a succession plan for the fire, for the department as it is now?
succession plan is, and we met all day Sunday, half a day Sunday. To try and, what you guys wanted and what you're gonna ask, and we're meeting all the time. I committed to giving 5 more years. And,
Randy, can I just?
yeah,
You're 73?
71,
71, okay.
yeah,
I'm just, listen.
I gotta be approved, yeah,
Listen,
damn it.
Randy, I appreciate everything you do, but I just wanna be realistic.
till
Is
this
it-
project
is-
is done, I'm not going anywhere.
No, but is it realistic for you to say that you'll be able to do this for another?
Well, I'm gonna try my best. But these guys also have excellent careers, and there's other people maybe up there, and I don't wanna speak. But they've done very well in their careers and very successful, okay? I did mine, but I did it and did this job. But they have to pay them to come do this. It's a lot more money.
So let me ask you, so do you think, if we say to you, what is the succession plan? Are you gonna look at us and say, the succession plan is that when I step down, I'm being replaced by a full-time fire chief?
Yes,
That's the
basically.
plan.
No, I mean, listen,
Yeah, yeah.
if that's what it is, I'd rather that we look at the hard truth.
Yeah,
And the residents in town know that when you step down.
Yeah.
Unless somebody miraculously steps up, at that moment in time, we are replacing you with a full-time paid
but, or you can match the pay for one of these guys. And they make a really excellent salary. I'm very proud of both of them, and they do very well.
No, but I'm just saying, like, Jack, in 3 years, if you're not shipping out, I mean, is being a full-time fire chief something that's gonna interest you?
No, and I don't want to speak for Tom, but I don't think that that's something that we're looking to take on.
Okay, no, I mean, I just wanna be upfront about everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll speak for Tom, because I agree with Jack, I don't think it's something that he.
I've been doing-
Nobody wants
this
this
for,
job, let me tell you.
No, no,
35 plus years.
listen, I'd rather that we're in the situation.
Yeah.
Where somebody who wants this job is getting paid whatever
It's
they're
gotta be
going.
somebody out of town.
But you just have to let us know,
Yeah.
but we need to know all
Yeah.
the reality.
And the reality is also why the rooms are so important. Okay, you can we know that you're gonna have to hire people, but we also know that we've been successful with some of the students that we've had. My God, over the last 8 years, I've had students that are just number one. And we're very lucky that one of the younger kids, his grandson, and another one, Sam, are staying in, they're professional firefighters, but they're living in town. Okay? We are so lucky, we got them trained, moved on, and they've taken up a career.
So Randy, how many, if we have a full-time paid fire chief, how many other salaries are we looking at? Let's say it's 5 years from now.
6 plus.
Okay, but we're wherever we are.
Yeah.
You have now retired.
Yeah.
There's a full-time paid fire chief.
7.
Okay, how many more paid employees do you think we'll need?
Well, the different programs, you start off slow. And you start with 2 and get into, there's programs that you can go and subsidize this for a 3-year period. And then you go and we learn, you gotta learn how to do, you just can't go boom. You gotta go, the right type of people to work in Castine is a little different than,
No, I get it.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
If I could say something, because I think it also depends when you ask how many people do we need to hire? I think it depends also on what the goals are of the fire department, because you could have 5, 6, 7 paid employees, but you might still need to call in Orland, Blue Hill, Penobscot for mutual aid if you've got a sizable fire. So the fact that we might hire multiple people, I don't want there to be, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't want there to be any confusion that that's all you need to fight a fire.
Oh, no, I would assume that we're still gonna volunteer.
Absolutely, you volunteer, and the potential of good students, like that year, I could name 2, right? 2, Will, couple others. That they live in the
In
station.
the station.
In the summertime, they would, instead of going
No,
out.
during the school
Yeah,
year.
year-round.
But
Scare- yeah.
that would be a nice thing to be able to offer them, is that they live in the station while they're doing they're volunteering.
Correct.
And
And they're saving money on rent, so.
They're
that-
saving money on rent and, and they
And we're
live there.
saving salary.
And yeah, and they, it's a program, it can work, they can't, I mean, there's rules. No alcohol, no this, no that. These are the type of kids that are excellent. We've had Kyle Fallon. We've had, I could go through Wright, different ones over Jeffrey Wright. Man, they have given so much to our town. They really have, and we were lucky. And we're really, Sam Buchanan in town now, and Will. You guys have been lucky, and I hate that, we've been telling everybody it's coming. And I just wanna make sure you understand that we wanna do a jointly together to make it, but also I wanna get students involved in that station. So that they're living there and be responsible, and full-time people. The combination of the 2 to start us off. And eventually it grows. But I don't know any other way to do it.
So in terms of, let's call this a hybrid model. You've got paid and you've got volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay, is this something that is common now that you have these hybrid fire
It's called
departments?
the combination department, yeah, it's common.
Okay,
Derek has got a little experience with it in his past, so we've chatted already.
Before I left.
Yeah. And it's creative. We gotta be creative. You can also find some kid that's going to school at that EMDTI or something like that. And then bring them down here and they're in a medical program, they're in there and they live here, but yet they're on call at night. You gotta be we gotta think out of the box a little bit, is what I'm trying to do, as our team, Jack and Tom and I have done.
yeah, Jack, what were you gonna say? I'm really curious to what you were gonna say before. You were gonna.
I just think it's important to note that of the 19 year-round residents that we've got on the fire department right now that are active with us, 16 of them are over 55.
Wow.
And the other 3 are college age students who we may or may not have we've got two that are working in Bangor, but live in
So
Castine.
when you have a typical call,
Will just started with Brewer Fire, I saw.
Will is
Yeah.
with Brewer,
Yeah.
Sam is with Bangor, and the other one is my daughter Nora, who's at the academy.
okay, so when you have a typical call
Mhm.
and you've got, what's the total population of all the volunteers? Like if you looked at, everybody who's on your roster. 38. So of those 38 people in 5 years from now, how many, I mean, I know that new people come up all the time, but of the 38 that you have, how many will be aged out?
It's hard
They're
to
aged
say.
out now.
They're aged out now. I mean, a lot of them come in now that are joined, they're in their 70s. One, he's 72, the other one's in their 60s. You
And
know,
what, what do you think what should to have a functioning fire department? Is 30 plus or minus the right number?
I mean, if
We're not
people,
gonna get there.
What?
We're not gonna get there
if people go to sea,
with the year-round.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying that if we're going in 5 years to a paid medal.
Yeah.
So we've got a paid fire chief and we've got,
4 or 5 at least initially
Okay.
firefighters. yeah.
okay, so. When there's a call, I mean, are we still looking that we need 25 volunteers? Like, how many volunteers will we need after we have these?
anybody that can stop and talk to us and join. It takes 2 years to get people to be able to go on scene and actually participate. 2 years.
Yeah.
It's not like this is, you can go find them.
And when you have volunteers, like recently there was a call, right? So Tom's looking at his phone, just as I know Randy and Jack do, and you can see the list of people who have said, I'm out of town.
Wow.
And so because everyone's like shipping out, they've gone away for the weekend, and so you're sitting there like, okay, we've got X number of people volunteering, but 10 of them are out of town right now.
Right.
If you are someone who's in town and who's had a glass of wine
You can't
with
go.
dinner, you can't go, right? I mean, so you, I think there's gotta be a
So
sweet spot.
so
of,
there's really two,
volunteers.
there's two big issues. One is the actual planning of the building and the financing.
Yeah.
And then we've got this whole personnel side, which is equally as problematic.
Actually, you got three, one more,
What's that?
a truck. We needed, several trucks are needed, but you need a new truck too. I mean, not to burden you, got
No,
enough.
but listen, to me,
That's what I'm telling you.
You're telling us the truth.
listen, it's bad. Whenever you do, my attitude is whenever you deal with problems,
Head on.
hit it head on, because it's the only way you're gonna get a real answer.
So just to be out there, of our 2 fire engines on our rescue truck, which are our 3 frontline pieces. Engine 5 is 30 years old. Rescue is 24 years old. And engine 6 is 22 years old. So we are already beyond the maximum service life that the NFPA suggests of 20 years.
And the replacement cost of those 3,
Each of those engines are probably 700 to 800,000.
800.
so it's 2, so basically, we're looking at whatever the cost of the firehouse is. Plus another 2 million in equipment.
No, we're gonna be able to keep some of that going, but not all of it and not forever. And you'll see, if you look at our budget, we have to continually bump up our maintenance cost every year because,
I mean,
we're dealing with things that generally we would never see if we had a piece of.
yeah, I come from the business world and our business, we knew that every year we had to put X amount of money aside for new equipment.
Correct.
We knew that, like, we don't know what the equipment's gonna be, but, we used to budget, $750,000 a year, every year. And it seems to me that to rotate through this equipment regularly and keep it up to date, there needs to be a budget that we know that every X amount of years we need a new machine, and I was talking to Derek the other day, he said something to me that really hit me. He said, well, we can't run the town like we're start saving for retirement at 58. Like, you can't do that, and that's the situation that we're in right now. is that because we haven't been putting chunks of money aside for years and years.
Not that we didn't ask to,
No, I get it.
You've been asking, I believe.
you know, as it is right now.
I'm just telling you how I look
No,
at
yes, sir, and I completely agree with what you're saying. We've been putting $10,000 a year into a truck reserve fund. We've asked for 10 times that much, but that's what we've been putting away. So we find ourselves significantly behind the 8 ball. Our truck reserve fund right now, I think, has about 126,000 in it. We're going to take 80 of that to replace the EMS vehicle.
Yeah,
So
That
basically,
was a Band-Aid fix that we tried and unfortunately didn't last quite as long as we hoped it would. You know, we cobbled together some funding and we got some funding donated by our fire association to try to put that vehicle in to keep us through for another 5 years. We only made it 3.
so when you go to your fire meetings and you're talking to other chiefs in other towns, are people
I'm embarrassed.
are people being successful in getting grants and you know, I mean,
The town eats it. Sedgwick just ordered an $800,000 truck and Deer Isle just did.
Really?
We are handicapped, if you want to look at it that way, from the standpoint of our tax base. So the majority of these grant opportunities for larger ticket items, we tend not to qualify for because of our tax base.
because we're too
too
much
high.
money.
money.
For tobacco.
We did
We tried.
successfully get one for the tanker.
We did,
Yeah.
yeah, that was $350,000.
What was the total cost of the tank?
Just about 400,000 by the time everything's said and done.
I know I'm putting the cart in front of the horse here, but it seems to me that if there was a town meeting right now. And we said, these are the real needs of the fire department. This is not fluff, this is not like anyone, you know, like this is the bare bones necessity. For the health and safety of this town. You know, I would hope. That when people went and voted, they would say, listen, we're getting value. You know, we're getting value for our tax dollar.
Right.
And that we understand that nobody likes taxes to go up, but if they go up and you're getting value, it doesn't feel so bad.
I think a good 90% of the community was supportive. I really do. It was a tough time for everybody back then, and it just kept going in a whirlpool.
Gordon, did you have anything to add or anything you wanted to say?
I've got a lot of thought,
Yeah.
but the reason I'm here is because I'm interested in the physical design of the building. And what it looks like that the townspeople can accept. Because we can't have a tin shack up there.
No, it has to be a nice looking building.
It's gotta be a nice looking building that fits in with the community. And one of the things they didn't mention, but I think is absolutely vital to the building, is a hose drying tower.
Absolutely.
What is that, Gordon?
It's a tower where they hang the hoses up. Right now, they lay them out in the street,
So, yeah, that's not.
and that's not a good way to do it. But
So is this outside or is it inside of hose drying tower?
it's a tower, part of the
It'll
building,
be integrated into the design of the building.
right? But
Right.
beyond that, having been on the board long enough to know, there are bonds that are gonna be retired.
Right.
So that's part of the funding process for this undertaking, not just the station, but the whole undertaking has to be looked at in,
No, I get it.
with the idea that there is a funding source, not large enough to do it,
No.
but certainly a funding source that takes the top off of the tax rate.
But
issue.
my concern, Gordon, is I totally appreciate that, and I agree with you. My concern is if there's any other large infrastructure projects that we're forced to do, not that we wanna do. If there's infrastructure projects that we're forced to do at the same time that we're addressing the fire station. We have to balance. The needs of the fire department with the needs of the overall infrastructure of the town, and I just don't wanna, I fear, when I go home at night and I put my head down at night, I don't worry about funding the fire station. Like, I think that we can Well, I'm sure we'll design a good fire station. I'm sure we can design something that looks nice for the town. I'm sure we can design something that people like. I'm sure we can pay for it. But I am concerned, what if another $6 million project happens to come up at the same time because there's so much deferred maintenance?
Well, really consider what a $6 million project would be. That would be the loss of the sewer treatment plant or the
Yeah.
loss of the water treatment plant.
Yeah.
That's unlikely in the shorter term. So I don't think it's realistic to think of, there's another $6 million project comes up, maybe a $2 million.
Okay, so let's just say there's another $2 million project that comes up.
Right.
Let's just for argument's sake, let's call this $6 million, $6 million, okay? Okay, and all of a sudden, there's another $2 million project that comes along. We weren't expecting it, it came along, and now we're going to the voters and we're saying, okay, we've applied for this congressional directed spending, and maybe we'll get it, and maybe we won't. But right now, we're looking at $8 million in infrastructure projects for the town. I guess what the reason I'm saying is I wouldn't want to see the fire department suffer because something else came up that other people felt was a priority.
Derek, would you wanna talk about those? photos?
Oh, you mean my thing? Well, if it makes Gordon feel good, I guess it's something that I think fits in well, and I think done this with. I've tried to make it, I did it a couple ways. And of course, one of the things I noticed, I go to Poland Springs every year, and way before my time, they had a stable, okay? That I think fits in well up there on the hill, and you can see it, I actually put doors in it, just so you could imagine it a little bit. And I thought, you know, when you're thinking about something there, you got the president's house, likely some type of an old stable type of look, would fit in with, you know, when people worry what it's gonna look like, that could be, you know, one of the designs that, you know, people wouldn't think was the end of the world. It would literally look like it should be there.
Aesthetically, is that kind
This isn't anything that I had in mind.
No, all right, well, that's good. I was just trying to think, like.
I'm gonna
what's
be
it gonna
happy.
look like?
I'm gonna be happy with a
Right.
pole barn.
Okay, I just wanted to tell you
Like,
this.
I absolutely would love to have a beautiful building that would match
I
the
just
town
want to-
aesthetic.
So this is
Yeah.
in where I was staying when Julie had her surgery. This is in Sherman, Connecticut. Forget about, they have a police station over here. But like this, I mean, it's only 3 bays, but it's a nice looking building, and we could put clapboard on
Sure,
it and
sure.
something like that would, what do you think, Gordon?
I'm thinking more in line with a kind of a fire station that you would see in New York City or another city. A brick building that fits in with the academy across the street.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be brick in total.
No, just the
but
facade. The facade. It could be a steel building in back,
One.
it could be a steel building in back and brick in front.
Not necessarily a steel building, but a building that fits the community.
Yeah.
And I'm here because this has got to be sold to the town, and it's got to be something that the townspeople can look at and say, that fits Castine.
right, that's the thing, I think the town of Castine would pay an extra however much.
Yeah.
The building fits the town,
Right.
right? Like, I'm with you, Jack, I'd be happy with pole barn, but I don't think the
No.
town of Castine.
It's not that I don't want a nice looking building, but
Is that,
I'll take anything
Yeah.
that gives us enough space to change our mind in the building.
That's it, because
It's
that.
better than what you have right now.
And that's
And if you
fair.
can reconfigure space as you need to,
Sure.
right, then that's what you need.
so,
Tom actually had an idea, I'll throw out there just for your consideration. But if we have the administrative portion of this building as the road frontage piece, the apparatus bays could be built behind that
oh, I get it.
Out of sight, out of mind.
in such a way that we could drive around the station.
Nice.
That could be built much more like a
Okay.
pole barn type structure that would be hidden from the road frontage. It would certainly meet our requirements and save on construction costs. So, you know, once we get to the point of we hire the architect and we start having those discussions and we, you know, you've been out visiting, We're gonna start going to visiting places as a group so that we can get some ideas. I'm sure the chief has talked about the design conference.
I
coming
wanna
up.
go to a design conference.
Listen,
So if-
I'm sure, listen, when we hire the owner's project manager.
Yeah.
They're gonna go out to the world, they're gonna interview architects, they're gonna interview firms.
Correct.
I mean, I'm making a cool looking building is gonna be the easy part.
Right.
Let me kind of take a minute and explain the future. Why the building's important and where our vision is. Castine needs EMS desperately. Look at the rooms, look at the age. You know,
And look at our call volume.
you're right, we're gonna hit over 200. Which is
200 calls.
We're on 22 for the year already,
Medical or fire or both?
combined,
combined.
but 85% of that is medical calls.
We think. You know, that you gotta plan for it as we sit down, and we don't think today, we're thinking a year from now, 3 years now, and 5 years from now. We believe, and we've had discussions with Peninsula Ambulance. Now, you are gotta think of, if we have a new station, you have a bunk room, you have that. They can split the ambulance from there to here. You know, you have two of them, and one comes here, and the crew's here. And you know, you gotta also think of creative, how can you make that work, that instead of the 28 to 35 minutes. People can be there in 3 or 4. You know, and that's where we gotta excel to you guys to maybe understand that time is of the essence. And we are being creative with, and I've talked to the employees, you know, and I haven't gone to Alan, but you know, we're starting the talk. You know? And, you know, to go run our own ambulance is a whole different ballgame, but to split one with Blue Hill would be an opportunity to
That's
make it happen.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It would be great for this
Yeah,
whole
but-
region.
And for
Right.
the surrounding.
My feeling is that whatever happened in the past in terms of competency, it's history, it's over, it's.
Right.
I just would like that all of our conversations about the fire department moving forward are positive.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic, we're providing essential services to the town. And we're proud to do it. I mean, I just think like,
So, and to add to that, where we are an aging group.
Yeah.
Life like that. You know, that we gotta think of those
Yeah.
things that are, okay, we take for granted.
how much would a life like, if you had a little bad
That,
day?
it's paving and lighting.
It's
It's
not-
nothing, but it is absolutely essential.
No, it's absolutely, I mean, you look at the average age of people in Castine, is the average age 75 or 73? I mean,
And we've lost our primary landing pad. The academy paved it over and put up lights.
It's still
Was that the
been
practice
for-
field?
Yeah.
Was that your primary
It
one?
was, yeah.
Okay.
where was it?
It's the,
Immediately across the street from the current firehouse.
next to the football field, there was a
It's still
grass
done.
practice.
Oh, that's right, that's
Yeah,
right, that's
That's
right.
now parking.
We do have the fort, the problem with Fort is that we can't really get the ambulance in there.
Is there enough,
I think it would-
is there enough room on this new site for the firehouse?
There absolutely is.
So then we made an input. One.
So, and the next, you know, communications is key. I didn't get to explain it to you guys, but Tom has been working on this, well, all of us have been working on it for 7 years. And Tom finished it up, is a community in the tower at the dump. We're putting the repeater up in that section building, and then the antenna can be up. So our communication system is going to improve in the next 2 weeks. It's been a long project, and Tom brought it home. But it just is gonna, so that means, to me,
Right.
let's say I'm sitting in my living room. I can talk to Jack, anybody at that scene right from there. I can be in Bucksport, Bangor. I can be down on a boat. Everybody will be able to communicate better
No dead spaces.
and no dead space.
We hope.
Yeah, the model says we will be able to, but it's been a long time trying to get to it.
Mark, I said I wasn't gonna do public input, but one question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One, I couldn't agree with Gordon more. You know, what this facility looks like to the public, to the uninformed public. But
Yes.
very critical,
Yeah.
so very critical to the community. You know, will really matter a lot. It has to feel like it belongs to us. It's like a high quality building without having necessarily high quality costs. Perhaps, as Jack said, moving the guts, the bays to the back part. Also, Jack, I think you mentioned earlier modular, building out modules and building out in sections. The original plan that was presented to the town had 4 80-foot by 18-foot bays, which is almost 6,000 square feet. That's the majority of the building, because the whole program was 11,000 plus. Right?
And that's the cheapest footage.
It is cheap footage, but the point is, if you got 6, I'm just thinking about modular. If you have 6 pieces of equipment, that can fit in 3 bays, and then plan for another bay. And I was thinking, plan for dormitory space, but if you say you need it now, the dormitory space isn't that expensive either. I think it's technical pieces that are expensive.
I think so.
Meeting spaces and the decontamination spaces.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
the town got off on the wrong foot a few years ago with the site selection process. We all have to agree with that. And it's really put people's backs up against the wall. And so,
But we're ready to.
but it you pull back in
Yeah.
by really,
Yeah.
people feel that there's transparency and that there's a nice looking building.
That's right.
Because I think people will support that. And I don't know if it'll be 90% of the people, but if you get 70%, you're
enough.
okay.
Well, and I,
Because the night of the vote, it was about 60-40 or something like that. Anyway.
yeah,
that's
and
all.
I think in terms of the messaging, and trying to put, a positive light on this to the town, being transparent and open, that when we have a better sense perhaps of cost, and we go to the town, that we are prepared with the information in front of us at the table to say, if you own a home that is valued at $250,000, this is the difference we anticipate for your tax bill.
Absolutely.
Because to hear something as $6, $7, $8 million, it's very hard to put that into what that means for your wallet. And so if we can say, look, it means, I don't know, a $400 increase,
Right.
then you can say, hey, are you willing to make a $400 investment for your own safety, for your own home, if it were to burn down? Because if the alternative is to not have a fire department and wait a half hour.
Right.
Or
And
pencil
just use-
ambulance
just
or
use-
Bucksport Fire.
Just to use that example, which is a great example, I'll just take it a step further. The $1.30 a day that it's gonna cost you.
Right,
You know
you
what
break
I mean?
it down. It's
You know,
like-
like I would just say that a new fire station is gonna cost you $1.76 a day.
Right,
Which we may have just offset by going to an ISO rating 3.
right, so that.
Like,
So I just think that the way we position this and the way we sell it to the town, we have to do it in a way that it seems like we're getting real value. Not that we're spending $6 million, we're getting value to the town. And everyone gets value.
I would agree with that.
Thank you guys.
And thanks for all you do.
Thanks for listening.
I have one question for you folks, though. I just would like to get clear in my mind what the step forward process is. I understand we're looking at the managing position that we're gonna put out to bid.
Versus OPM.
The OPM,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, OPM.
and then that person will,
That person acts as the project man, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
So that person's gonna go out, they're going to gather all the information for the project, they're gonna talk to you guys, they're gonna come up with the scope of the project. Then they're gonna go out to architecture firms and they're gonna say, will you bid on this project? You know, it's approximately this,
Mhm.
and then we'll decide which firm it's gonna be. Sign a contract with that firm and we just keep.
So
And
the work
also,
starts. Didn't you say it was gonna be like 385 and that will bring us right to bid out? Plans and everything, right?
Yes.
You're right.
and we're gonna discuss that, like, that we're all the way, we're working on this together.
And what I keep thinking about is, once we get the OPM, we need to have like, I don't wanna call it a marketing campaign. but a public relations campaign that we are regularly speaking to the residents in town and say, this is a 2-year process. We're gonna update you every 30 days as to what's going on, so there's no secrets, there's nothing, everything is 100% transparent every step of the way. If people have questions, every step of the way, they'll be able to have questions. We'll have professionals there to answer them, so that if there's a technical issue, people aren't asking us. There's gonna be, you know, an architect or a designer or a fire chief or someone who's gonna answer.
Dan, I gotta ask you this then. May, town meeting.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be ready to bear the vote at town meeting for this? I'm saying hearing yes, no, in between. I'm looking for you guys.
What do you think, Roger?
Project manager, I would hope so.
I would
We
hope so,
need to
that's
go
why
to
I'm
town
being
meeting with that
specific.
article to raise money for
Yeah,
project
Yeah,
manager.
so the
to
owner's
get it all
project
done.
manager, that has to be in the budget.
Okay, and he says he can do all this in 3 months.
Okay,
So, and it's not a 2-year, I'm looking for accelerated way that we can make this happen. It can't go years, guys.
okay,
No,
so if the, help me out,
Yep,
okay, the OPM says he can be ready
in 3 months
with three
with
months.
numbers.
I think he said 5.
Okay,
He said
but-
six. I thought he said if he started in July, he could have it done by December.
So,
Who's he? Had you gone out to bid for an
Yeah,
OPM?
they-
No,
been
but
talking,
we've met with.
Met with
PMs
Tony,
at
and-
Hill
Anyway.
Fire Station, so
Anyway.
we kind of
Um,
have some
so,
insight.
there's money in the budget, if you pass it, come July 1.
Yes,
well,
Correct.
but that's what we have to do, because then we don't need to just budget for an OPM, we need to budget for an architect.
No, that's all
all
built into.
Built into that price.
The money I bring to you at one of our budget meetings is gonna have it
It's
all.
gonna
in
be
there.
all of that built in.
All
It's gonna
built
bring
in.
us all the way through prelim.
okay, but
Plans,
I'm
design.
just gonna tell you this is my opinion, I haven't spoken to, this is just me speaking right now. I think in the May vote, you guys gotta come with money towards new equipment. It's got to, whether it's, I mean.
Well, we have to put that in the budget.
No, but I know, but I'm just saying, but they're gonna come with a number that is realistic, because you guys know it, we don't know.
Right.
But I'm just saying that if we're looking at all this aging equipment, okay. I'd rather that we start putting money aside now, not $50,000 or $75,000, which in 5 years is still nothing in relation to the equipment. There has to be real money put
We
aside.
will talk with you guys on that. We came up with a number and we were like, hold that, can we do that? You know, we gotta talk to you guys.
Tell us, but my understanding is, and tell me if I'm wrong, that we can't purchase the new truck now. because
Right,
it
don't
won't
get
fit
city
the-
silver.
Well, no, we put it,
Okay,
Right.
but what we have to do is have it built in so that we're ready
You
to
can buy a record.
start purchasing,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Derek.
Can I go backwards, Dan?
I just ask Derek a question. Derek, when you spoke to this guy,
Yeah,
if it's 5 months to get that together,
yeah,
and then we go to hire an architecture, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just for argument's sake, let's just say Port City gets it for argument's sake right now. Once you hire Port City,
in the bay.
how long does it take then from the time they say, okay, there's an 11,000 or a 10,000 square foot fire station? How long does it take them to come up with the design? How long does it take to build it?
so prelim design will be the 3 months. The other 2 months will be getting all of that done. December, he said, we should be ready to go to bid.
Okay,
So
so
we'll all be
December,
together
so we
by
go to
then.
bid in December.
And that's running really hard too.
No, but I'm just
That's
saying,
right.
all I'm trying to get, I'm just trying to get a sense that once we go to bid, is it a 1-year project? Is it a 2-year? Like, how long does it take to build this thing?
2, I think he said, right?
No, it'd be, it
2027, so we'd be looking at
takes a year.
So when we go.
But you gotta go to
Right.
the town though,
To get the
that's
money.
one part that we've dropped off. What I'm trying to get to is hire the
OPM.
OPM. He gets go through, hire the architect, we go through that,
Thank you.
and at that point,
Okay, slow down, Randy. okay?
yep, hire OPM.
the OPM. When does the RFQ go out?
But we gotta work on it still, so we're working
1
on it.
week, 2 weeks, 3
Oh,
weeks?
no,
How
we'll
we
put it out for a month. but it doesn't matter because we'll have it out, let's say in April. As soon as June first hits, right,
Can't get
so
the-
we'll have it out, we'll get it, so we'll already have that person under contract, but we'll have a non-appropriation clause by town meeting time. So non-appropriation clause will mean the people don't raise the money to pay for that next step, then that contract doesn't go anywhere. If it does, boom, we're ready to go as soon as July first hits,
Okay.
cause that's when the
Okay.
money will hit the
But
budget.
if we wanted to go sooner, we would have to have a special town
You
meeting for
would,
the $385,000.
yeah.
Is that something we can do a special?
I
town
don't
meeting
wanna do
for?
a special town meeting, cause I
There are
would
only
like to
certain
pay for
funds
this,
that can
cause it
fund
starts building in the bond payment amount right out of the gate. Rather than having a second fight later on, I wanna fill that void and have that fight once.
Okay,
So the next time we go, we say, okay, the bond payment, we already raised 90% of that already at town meeting in May. So that we're not fighting over
so you're gonna,
the second thing.
Will we know it May? Are you saying you will know it May, the anticipated cost of the fire department?
No, it'll be OPM,
We'll know that it's 385.
that's
For the
somewhere in
initial
there, right?
testing.
Correct, to get
No,
the,
to
get the
get it
manager on
all the way
contract
go in
and
and
to start
like.
the process would
Right,
be effective the first of.
So we need basically
Or,
400 grand in the
First of
budget for
July.
this year.
Right, first of July, thank you.
So we start the 1st of July.
Right.
And then he's gotta go out to bid to get the
architect,
architectural firms. And then once they contract with the architectural firms, we then need to have another meeting in order to get funding for the architectural.
no, cause that whole
It's
thing
part of
is
that.
grouped it all in for
Okay.
that strike price.
The
So
next
then-
meeting will be town meeting, or a special town meeting.
but then, yeah, then we
No,
would
we
need
don't-
this,
we don't
then,
want-
but then.
Right,
Yeah, we do.
right, after the 6 months.
So sometime
After
in
it's done,
2026.
Right,
December or in January of 2026, we have a special town meeting.
right,
Correct.
To approve
That's
the
where we
design and
do the
Bond
building
construction.
costs.
yeah.
Yes, everything will be laid out,
Yeah.
design, where it is, what it is, costs, everything will be done.
Okay,
So, I mean, this is not specifically your area, but I look at this and I say, okay. We know there's gonna be a segment of the population who's gonna say it's too expensive, we don't need it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I look at it from the point of view that if we can identify who some of these people and talk to them one-on-one, we sit down with them and say, we know you're gonna come to town meeting. But we really wanna sit down with you and help you understand how critical this is and turn some of those no's into yeses.
that's our job.
That's our job.
We have to go out and socialize
Yeah.
this every chance we get, and
we'd be
we have.
happy to have him come down and look at the station.
And you know what? And we-
Listen, the first thing I did before I ran for office, I came and spent 3 hours with you then.
Yes.
And we might have to ask, we might have to impose on you and say, hey, on this
Sure.
one Saturday,
We're there.
can you do an open house?
Exactly.
you sure
Come
could.
in and look.
And actually, what might be really interesting, if there was a well-designed fire station within 30 minutes of here. Like if there, no, I don't know, is there one within a half an hour, 40 minutes that we could say, we wanna show you what we have? And we wanna show you what we will, something like what we're gonna have, so people understand what they're getting.
I don't think it would be that size,
In Orleans,
NBI
under
or somebody
construction,
has
that's a
plans
pole barn.
online, but.
Right, oh, we have our, okay, we have a plan.
But here's, I will throw a little snag in this, okay? Is,
Derek,
well, your timeline, the only thing is, if people start pressuring about the congressionally directed spending, I don't know if we get it like this round, cause we're not there yet, so that would push that off
And you know
to
what?
March.
And you know what?
Or
There
whenever,
might-
so
there might
just
not-
keep that in mind.
There might not be any congressionally.
I just,
Right, I know that,
Given, we're not gonna get involved in political discussion,
Right.
but given what's happening, the chances of things getting passed in Congress.
Right.
It's
Right.
every bill is gonna be a war.
So.
oh, I think so too, I think every little thing is gonna be scrutinized as like a little token thing.
And we really have this
here,
problem
token
that,
there,
we're
roads
a
going
wealthy
on.
community. I mean, you look at Court Street, we got turned down again for the grant on Court Street. And it's because they look at our tax base, they look at the income level and they say, you guys don't need the money.
But I think we go into it we go into it not counting on a congressionally directed
Yes,
package.
that'd be smart.
If we get it, it was cake and we're all happy. But we go into it knowing exactly how much it's gonna cost and that's how much.
Robert, I have a question about that, and Derek, maybe you could help me too. When you apply for congressional directed spending, so you apply for it, so let's just say we have planned that we're not gonna get it, it's $6 million. We make arrangements to borrow the $6 million, we apply for it. How do I wanna word this?
Yeah.
Well, if they hold it against us, like if they see that we've been approved for, you know, a Maine municipal bond. We've been approved for a bond. We're starting the station. Is that gonna work against us
I'm not sure, it might not, that's the
I don't
problem.
know, we'll figure it out.
It depends how I craftily
Yeah.
write the paperwork.
Cue the maniacal laughter.
Congressional spending is not the only source of funding.
That's right,
Grants,
that's right, there are other funds.
there's grants funds and there are some large corporations that are in the business of supporting communities. And those are the ones you gotta go to.
And I would say too, with the affluence of our own community, I would not put out of the question the ability of some private person.
You know what?
Fundraising,
I-
because if you think about it, you just go up and down the streets, you can
Yeah.
just think,
Yeah.
there's.
Listen,
there's
they
$70
raised
million
$2.4 million to the golf
There's
course.
no question.
Okay, it seems to me that if we had a thermometer in front of the fire station and a thermometer down by the dock. And said we were trying to raise $2.5 million for the fire station from the town, I would think. That people will be every drop as generous towards the fire station as they work towards the golf.
I'll get out my black book.
Yeah,
even more. And I think
No,
that
just
takes some
kidding.
Very specific personal meetings
Yeah.
with key people that
Yeah.
are targeted as.
Yeah.
I think
It
you're in a position to support.
might not be a bad idea to look at some grant writers either.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea.
And we've done well with very small grants up
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
tanker grant, but that was. You know, probably 100 hours of labor on our part to get that one.
No,
grant
it was a
pulled off.
grant, having a grant. I mean,
Grants.
I would hope that the economic development coordinator that we're gonna hire. When we go to interview these people,
Right.
one of my questions is gonna be. How much experience do you have writing grants? And give me examples of grants that you wrote that you won.
Another fundraising, this is gonna sound kind of wild, but another fundraising thing that I've been made aware of. Is that. There are people out there who follow specific architectural firms. And if they know that a project is going to be designed by a specific architectural firm, they'll come in and give you $5 million toward your project because they want to promote that firm. Yeah, it's an interesting, there's, you know, people with a lot more money
They want their
than I know
name on
about.
You know Helen Miller, right?
So,
There's
yeah,
a place on-
and she knows some of these people.
She knows some of those people.
So those
Yeah.
are some things that we can.
Harold
She's
Ballpark
a
Fire
hardcore
Station, I can do
supporter,
it.
and Ann is
Yes,
too.
and those are some things that we can consider when our OPM is looking at firms and
Yeah.
such, right? And so we have options. We can do this, and now we have a plan, so let's get it done. Thank you all so much. It's already after 6 and I don't wanna infringe on your time anymore, but we really appreciate it.
Sure.
And again, thanks for all you do.
Thank you,
Thank
yes.
you. And Tom would have been here,
No.
but he just couldn't have been.
On a late call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're happy to come back anytime you want us.
Listen, you're gonna be called many times when we're selling this to the town.
That's right, but, you know, we're moving, we got a plan, so,
Thank you.
thank you. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, good to see you.
Okay, guys,
And I
thanks.
volunteered through Derek to be
Thank you.
on the committee or whatever it is that works with the architectural firm to come up with a plan that will meet the community desire.
And I think that's really important, Gordon, because, you know, people have great respect for you in town. And I think that if you're involved with the planning, people are gonna say, well, if Gordon's involved, it's gonna be good.
It's gotta be something that fits Castine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're still getting non-public. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we have an executive session now.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to enter into executive session.
Second it.
Title 1, MRS, chapter 13, section 405, 6, personnel matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Get out of here.
No, no, no. you're-
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
You have a good one. 6:05. Did you get a second? Yeah,
Yeah, Dan.
Dan, second. Vote,
Is this personnel issues?
vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Yes.
Hi.
Alright, we're going in. Oh, wait, is the rec committee turn the meeting in because if they.
I think they're in the hallway.